All right, bouncing back to the Kyle Rittenhouse case, as you know, the prosecution is in the process of their closing arguments. They're on a lunch break right now after a long day of going over jury charges, a charge dismissed, reading the jury charge to the jury. We have our very own Angenette Levy that is with us, boots on the ground out there. Angenette, welcome. Happy Monday to you. And can you give me an idea of what is the atmosphere like inside that courtroom? Does there seem to be, is it tense? Do you have any reaction from the jurors that you can glean anything from?
Yeah, well, happy Monday to you from a very cold Kenosha, Wisconsin, Bob. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a tense atmosphere. It's very serious. The judge, I feel like, keeps it a little bit light, with some of the comments he makes. But the jurors just seem like they're just paying attention. They're taking it all in. During his closing argument, Assistant District Attorney Thomas Binger played several of those videos over and over again to display for the jury what he believes those videos show with regard to Kyle Rittenhouse's actions that night. And the jurors kind of all leaned forward. They watched the drone video very carefully as it was played and replayed. The other assistant district attorney, he used a pointer to point out on the video screen what they wanted the jury to observe as that video was replayed. So it's been interesting to watch, and they're just taking it all in. They're paying attention, just watching Thomas Binger and listening.
Yeah, the reaction of the defense lawyer has kind of made me laugh as the prosecutor's giving his closing statement. There's just this look of disdain on his face, for lack of a better expression. Is that, you expect him coming out guns blazing with this closing when the defense goes?
I think so. There's certainly no love lost between any of these attorneys, between the prosecutors and the defense attorneys. I don't know if you realized it or noticed it during the closing argument, Bob, but Thomas Binger, at one point, Mark Richards objected to something, and Binger just kept plowing forward, and he said, "You can take care of that in your argument. That's argument." And the judge agreed with him. He said these are things that can be argued in closing arguments. So Binger seems to be, something I noticed about him all day. He didn't smile once. The other attorneys smiled at times, when it was appropriate, when there was a joke made or something like that. But Binger seems very laser focused at this point, and like he's just going to plow forward, and he believes in what he is saying, and that's it. So I'm assuming we're going to get quite a fiery response to what Binger has said from Mark Richards when he gets up there and makes his closing.
Yeah, and Angenette, the judges come under a considerable amount of pressure, not surprisingly, both on the left and on the right, or liberal, conservative, however you want to look at it. These cases all get politicized these days, at being very favorable to the defense.
Right.
Is that the feel that's going on in the courtroom, or is it generally this is the way this judge is, and that he's trying to be fair and impartial? Because he did give the prosecution some good jury charges.
Yeah, and he did. And there were quite a few, there's that provocation instruction. There's also the, very much a bunch of lesser included offenses for all the homicide charges and attempted homicide charges. It's interesting because where I've been sitting in the courtroom behind me are people who either know or are related to the people who were shot and killed or wounded in this shooting back in August of 2020. And you've kind of heard some groans at some points in time. The defense side is across the courtroom from where I am sitting. We've heard Wendy Rittenhouse in some interviews on Fox News and things like that say that she thinks the judge has been very fair. And he's also taken a lot of heat on social media and in some media outlets. Some think that he has been very favorable to the defense, but then he has agreed to these lesser included offenses that he allowed in the jury instructions. And also, let's not forget, the defense asked several times throughout this case that misdemeanor count of someone younger than 18 possessing a dangerous weapon be dismissed. They had asked for that to be dismissed many times. Well, guess what? This morning, the judge dismissed it. So the jury no longer will consider that charge. And a lot of people were looking at that charge as one that, although it's a misdemeanor, it's important to the case because it would say that he was carrying a dangerous weapon when he shouldn't have been under Wisconsin law. And that all has to do with the length of the barrel.
Right. And the judge, it's kind of surprising to me. They went through that. Did it surprise you, too, that They got into a discussion about the length of the barrel, and the judge said, well, the jurors can use a ruler, to look at it. And finally, the prosecution stipulated it was not in violation of the statute. It had me scratching my head, Angenette, as a former prosecutor. Why would you allow the weapon and the charge to go into the jury knowing that it's not violation of law and potentially causing reversible error?
That's a very good question, Bob. And maybe at this point they just figured, you know what, this is not worth fighting about. This is a homicide case. People died. And really, when you start talking about curfew charges and a misdemeanor about having a weapon when you're under 17, whether you should have had it or shouldn't have had it, I mean, you might be, losing sight of things. And really, maybe this is, they're thinking we need to just focus on the big counts here.
Okay, awesome. Angenette Levy out there in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Obviously very cold. We appreciate you being out there. I see the wind's blowing a little bit. You got your hat on, so stay warm. And thank you so much for the great reporting as always, Angenette.
All right, will do. Thank you, Bob.
It was the video that shocked the nation. An unarmed black jogger, 25-year-old Ahmaud Arbery, gunned down in broad daylight. The three-man charge will now stand trial. For live gavel-to-gavel coverage of the trial, subscribe to Law&Crime on YouTube TV today.